Welcome back to another mock interview. Today we're talking with Jay, and this is the first of two parts. This is the verbal portion. And we're doing a junior mock interview, so some of these questions are going to be a little bit simpler. I'm not going to follow up as much, but the main thing I'm looking for is for him to be able to provide very concise, clear answers that showcase his knowledge and familiarity with JavaScript, as well as kind of the mechanics of how it works as well. So hopefully this is super useful, and I will see you in part 2. Thanks so much, Jay, for jumping on here. This is awesome opportunity to be able to do a mock interview. Tell us, in a paragraph or two, a little bit about your background and why you want to do this mock interview.
So I, for the last 25 years, I was a geophysicist working in Sugarland, Texas, right outside Houston. That whole industry, and it was seismic exploration for oil and gas. And so I got into that business basically around its peak. And since 2015, really, it's been on a steep decline. And then the pandemic kind of opened my eyes and presented an opportunity to try to change careers. Now at 50, that's sort of daunting. So I went to Flatiron School last summer and I graduated in October, and I really enjoyed that. I'm currently doing some contracting work, still doing seismic processing, but I thought this would be an awesome opportunity to kind of gauge where I'm at on both the verbal and the algorithm, the technical portion.
Awesome. Well, let's go ahead and get into it. I'll set my timer. We'll do 10 minutes of this. And let's do a little bit of kind of verbal questions. So again, if you don't know, it's totally fine. Just say, hey, I don't know. I'm not used to that. And sure. I'm going to play around with like how far I can take you on this. And again, no pressure if you don't know something.
Okay.
So let's kind of dive into it. So kind of what do you like about JavaScript?
It's really the language I know best. And so it's what I've learned almost everything in. Well, it's the first one we learned in Flatiron. They used to do it, I guess, in reverse order, where you learned Ruby on Rails and then you learn the JavaScript. So to me, it's kind of like my first language, even though I had some experience programming in C and other things over my 25-year career, but really starting from scratch, this is I feel very comfortable with it. But as far as what makes it better than other languages, I'm not sure I know, but I'm comfortable with it, so yeah. I like it.
Who doesn't like what they're comfortable with? I mean, I think that's fair. Like,
right.
My favorite language, English, because I'm the most competent.
Right.
So
right.
Who doesn't like to be good at something? So, I think kind of diving into a little bit of the language. So, like, what are some of the differences between like some of the declarations for variables such as like let and const?
Const, you can define it once and then you can never redefine it. And that's a direct assignment. So that was something, you do struggle with that, the let, var, const. And I was sort of confused in the beginning because you can declare an array as a constant and then change the values inside of it, even though it's constant, but you just can't change the entire array.
And it's a little nuance there, there's
right.
there's never a straight answer. It's always got to be like, well, a caveat actually. So
right.
Why is that, that you can declare an array as a const and still change something inside of it?
I'm not sure what the use would be if you couldn't change the values inside the array.
Yeah. And let's say you do have an array. And so let's just say you kind of you've got an array of users and you want to kind of sort those users. What are some ways you could potentially do that?
Yeah, so if you're sorting alphabetically, that's sort of easy. You can use the sort function built in to JavaScript. If it's not, though, if you don't want to, like if you're trying to sort users by user number, you would have to use a sort routine that A less than B, comma, that whole logic.
And let's just say you only wanted like active users. So it's users, they have a property on them. Some are active, some are inactive. If you just wanted to get a list of the active users, what are some ways you could do that?
You could do that with the dot filter, and you could do it with probably dot map or each.
it always feels like, because I'm taking notes, but it also feels like, you're at the doctor's and they're like, oh no, what is he writing? This is like, let's see here. So let's just say you did have a group of users, and you wanted to just grab like maybe the first active user. What are some ways you could do that?
Ooh, well, you would sort it, I guess, and then you could just choose that index 0,
Oh, yeah.
and that would give you the first.
I was actually talking with someone yesterday about this. So if, obviously in React and a lot of frameworks, they use map a lot to go over the items in an array. And there's a for each.
Right.
What would be some reasons to use a map versus a for each?
Ooh, I'd have to check my notes. I don't know it off the top of my head.
Oh, no, that's fine. This is it's the differences are like, because I had to explain when even trying to explain the differences, I was like, oh man, like it's just it's like one of those things, and I was like, oh, that's not a very good explanation.
Because they both like run a function that you describe.
Yeah, exactly. They both iterate on a list of stuff, so it could be kind of things. So let's just say I do want to we've been using this example of an array of users. So what are some other ways I could kind of loop through over those users? So we talked about the for each and those kind of things. But what are some other ways? Like I know there's different types of loops, obviously. What are some other ways I could go over those users?
Other than the built-in things like .map, you could do a for loop, a while loop. Not sure I can think of another one.
Those are good ones. If you're gonna name two, those are the two to name. Yeah, that's great. Let's see here. Have you worked much with TypeScript?
Not at all.
Well, I think you'd be surprised how much TypeScript. It's almost like people who know Spanish. It's like you kind of know. You don't know Portuguese, but you kind of know Portuguese. It's kind of one of those things where it's like there's a lot of similarity. I think you'd be surprised how you'd quickly be able to jump in on that.
I think my instructor said, it wouldn't be very hard to do it, and it's probably worth your time to learn it. So
yeah, I could probably teach you on a day kind of thing. So it's pretty straightforward.
Okay.
I'm gonna fake ask it to you because it comes up in enough interviews. But what does this keyword do, and kind of what are some reasons you'd want to use it?
That's for in a class, right? So, and that refers to the object this. So actually, that was one of the big epiphanies I had, and we got to it in learning Ruby. I can't remember what their descriptor is, but it's like self, I think.
Yeah.
And just realizing what that meant after looking at code, as an amateur. Now I finally get it. So yeah.
Nowadays you see in JavaScript this arrow notation, right? You've got the parentheses, you've got the arrow, and you've got the curly braces. And you've also, obviously you have the function one where you actually type out the keyword function. What are some differences, and why would you use one versus the other? Or is it just like flavor, kind of whatever you feel comfortable with?
I guess my impression is that really it's about style and how it looks on the screen, because those helper functions, you can just stick them in there right in line in your code, like in your for each or your .map. And so you wouldn't want to, write out function blah, blah, blah in that notation on that function.
Yeah. Okay, we got time for one more question. Thank you so much. This has been really great, the verbal side. I know it's been kind of harrowing, but this has been great. I've got some really great intel here. This is great. Okay, let's just say you got a string, 2 strings, and you're trying to see if they have the same number of words. So they each have 2 strings, and you're just trying to see, do they have the same number of words?
Sure.
What are some kind of ideas, just verbally off the top of your head, like how you would kind of go about doing that?
So JavaScript makes that pretty easy because you can do a split, and in the split you'd put in a single space, and then you would get from that an array, and then you could just do the .length and find out how many words are in that array.
Well, we have finished the verbal section. How are you feeling so far?
Good. I'm fine.
Awesome. Good. Yeah, I haven't seen beads of sweat yet, so that's good. That's always a good sign.
Yet.
No, not yet.